My name is known as Kim Christensen. Today it's Kim Lakeford. I was born the 27th September 1960. I'm very different than anybody else in this world. I'm one of a kind in every study done. For 34 years. By the biggest think tank, mental health research, and DNA studies, I'm one of a kind. I'm the only one on every study done. At 5 years old, I had deja vu. I could predict the future and prevent what's going to happen. I told my mum about the worst moment in her life in 1945 in World War II. She couldn't deal with it. She couldn't handle it. She lied to me. My parents rejected me as a freak of nature. I went to school and I got my head punched in nearly every single day for the same reason. I was picked on a daily basis by 20, 30 or 40 kids at a time. The teachers dragged me up to the office and gave me 6 canes and said I was very undesirable and I was the one causing the disturbance. I left school at 12 years old. I couldn't deal with school. I was very afraid being rejected by my parents as a freak of nature. I was just a child who's innocent. I didn't know what was going on. I just thought we were all the same, as any child would. I thought we were all the same. It's what a child thinks, that we're all the same. I have mental telepathy, ESP, remote viewing, ESP, telekinesis, levitation, spoon bending, clock winding, folding space and time with deja vu, predicting the future, prevent what's going to happen. I can see into the past and the future. I have a universal connection. I have a codependent in tune to power. I have divine power to command nature. I'm born this way. And no one believes me. I can use 100% of my brain. You can only use 7 to 10. Highest IQ people with brain deformity can only use 15%. You're not qualified to judge me at all. I'm the biggest mastermind in the world by the biggest think tank in the world. You're not even qualified to judge me. There isn't one of your species or one of your kind that's qualified to judge me. But you all do, because you're jealous, spiteful cowards, because you're artificial human beings, because you're post-human, transhumans, and you can't think with your natural process anymore. You can't use your clockwise thinking. You think anti-clockwise. Your body cells going corruption illusion during the daytime on every single one of your species. All your children are born with deformity because you're deformed to the shithouse. You're artificial to the maximum. You have 600 to 7,000 defective genes in every single one of your species. And your kids are riddled with parasites because you're riddled with parasites and live in denial. Declared worldwide. You're mentally institutionalized in your mind. Declared worldwide. You suffer the human conditioning in every single one of your species and live in denial in every single one of you. Your governments, your authorities, your pastors, your preachers, your Christians, your New Age, every human being lives in denial. Only 1.3% is clockwise in their aura, in their DNA, that are into their spirituality and don't live in mentality, in a personality, with grammar that they select with artificial intelligence and leverage mutation with atheism. Everyone's just an actor in the whole world and has no spirituality at all because they can't use mental telepathy, ESP, remote viewing, telekinesis, levitation, spoon bending, clock winding. They can't levitate a thimble. Some people can levitate a 1-ton stone. People question me. 1992, Kirstine Ashley, Ipswich Hospital. She flatlines after a drug overdose. Enough to kill 50 people. Given 0% chance of living, she's Narcan, taken to Ipswich Hospital. Kirstine Ashley, 1992, Ipswich Hospital. She's given 0% chance of living. They're pumping her stomach frantically in emergency. 7 doctors and nurses with CCTV. She flatlines a second time. When she flatlines, all of a sudden her body lifts more than 8 inches off the bed from one end to the other. The doctors and nurses fly backwards. She lifts that high. And she comes back to life when she flatlines. It doesn't happen once. It doesn't happen once, twice. It happens 3 times. Each time she lifts up higher and higher on the voltage reliability the power, with that divine intervention and divine power. She writes a poem in 2003, the one and only, worldwide #1 for 8 months. She's interviewed by the top scholars in the world. In the most powerful miracle ever seen in hospital anywhere in the world, fully recorded with evidence. There were only one of a kind in hospital recorded with solid evidence and CCTV and 7 peer reports. She writes the most powerful poem in 2003, the one and only. It's on CCTV. If you want to satisfy your little reptilian brain, then go and satisfy it, because you got no faith at all. You have zero faith. Okay? I did this in 1992. I'm the one and only on that poem that she writes, the one and only. And the biggest confirmation has come through by the biggest think tank, DNA Studies done. I am the one and only that can do this, and the only one of a kind. And it's not the only one. There's been several interviews with several others that I've also brought out to life, back to life, when they died and flatlined. Not the only one, but the only one with CCTV and fully recorded with evidence. The others is very flimsy on the evidence, but there is some of them flatlining in hospital and coming back to life. There is some evidence about this, but this one's CCTV with 7 powerful peer reports. In 1992, I was on the front page of the papers, King Vice, the only king in the world. 17 current affairs shows as a mastermind of loopholes of laws and mastermind manipulation, I could unravel every single thing, the biggest mastermind by the biggest think tank in the Star Chamber inquiry. Imagine being in my shoes. You're the only one of a kind. You're the one in the biblical history that brings resurrection humanity to go back in their primal state. And you're the only one of a kind that can do it. And you protect the elect, and you know who the elect is. And nobody else in the world does. They all think they're in the end times. They don't know who the witness is. They don't know who the elect is. They don't know anything about resurrection. They know nothing about the crossover at all. Because they're mentally insane in a massive global delusional state with delusional powers of ptosis and live in denial about it. Complete brain-locked denial. They're brainwashed. They can only use 7 to 15% of their brain, which means they're brainwashed. When they cannot use 100% and a God-given gift that God gave them to follow the right footsteps, then they could do what I can do and more, because I can do every single thing that Christ can with my genetic memory and my genetic ancestry tools, with the most powerful confirmation on earth. And you think anybody believes in me? You have to be in my shoes. Pastors and preachers and Christians throw stones at me immediately. They have zero faith at all. They're that judgmental, and they only believe their own voices in their own mind with artificial intelligence. Voices in mind declared by J. McGivers, 45,000 teachers, 16,000 top scholars. We listen to the wrong voice in mind. Ultimately designed for human extinction. And everybody dies prematurely from psychosis because they live in their mind with mental event. They live in their consciousness and mentality. They do not live in their spirituality. They live in mentality. Right? They're artificial. They have no genetic process. They can't use 85% of the brain. They can't use their 24th chromosome in dormancy. You can see in studies out of research that gives them supernatural, superhuman abilities. They can't use none of it. They just talk, and all talk, no action. And they're actors because they act for someone else. When they can only use 7 to 15% of the brain, they act for someone else. A messenger can use 100% of his brain. He controls his vessel from the outside in, like Keanu Reeves in the movie documentary, The Matrix. He controls his vessel from the outside in. And he can respond 7 times faster than anyone can think with a universal language, with 7-fold wisdom knowledge. You can see that in the movie Limitless. Because I developed the drug across Australia and brought people back in the primal state from the human conditioning that they were conditioned into. So they can use 100% of their brain, the most powerful enlightenment drug, the most powerful truth serum, the most powerful love drug. And it comes from a plant called Mayang. It's called the plant of life. In the Vatican, they have the mushroom as a tree of knowledge. And Mayang is a tree of life that recreates the sacred secretion that Moses and Christ used, bred manna from a plant called Mayang. And everyone's in denial about this. You cannot create the sacred secretion. You cannot use your third eye, the sixth sense, to see the picture that tells you 1,000 words of dimensional thinking and multiple perceptions and multiple layers, a universal language. You cannot use it. It was taken away from you by Noah and his family, the naked drunks. And that's who you follow, the milestone of Nimrod. That's your God. That's who the Rockefeller says. He's a fallen angel who's always been resurrecting Nimrod, Osiris, All-Seeing Horus, Herod, Rockefellers. He designed your Bibles in 1640. He designed your consciousness into the conscious singularity by WF with artificial intelligence. He designed you on reverse psychology engineering. He designed your Bibles, your law and order documents with chaos with the UN, and that's what you live by. His grammar, his selection, his Bibles, and every single thing that you consume under the secret covenant. And you consume all those products with artificial intelligence, and electronic magnetic device with an outside influence that controls your reality you give consent to on a daily basis, with principality in the power in the air, with radio waves. You go to school to be mentally institutionalized so the boogeyman controls you. You know, the boogeyman, the child sees the boogeyman under the bed. Some of us see the shadow. You can see that in the movie with the kid with the shadow, where the shadow controls everyone in the restaurant except for the kid. Well, when your parents lie to you and say it's a dream, it's because they're possessed by it. They're possessed by the boogeyman. A child's a genius at 5 years old can mastermind a computer game and respond 7 times faster than an adult. He uses his natural process with his sixth sense. He can master his own mind, and his voltage, reliability, and DNA aura is clockwise with 2 molecules of mentality and 130 nucleoside molecules in genetic repair kit. And he has a genetic memory. But then he goes to school to be programmed into his mind to be mentally institutionalized in here in the long dark cave with an IQ behavior. And then he starts to think critically with voices in the mind that tell him to do it, and don't do it. And it's only a personality. And now he's trapped into a competitive personality, and he rocks out of school at 16 and says, my parents are dinosaurs. I'm a homotech robot now. I'm a lot more smart than my parents. And now, Bruce Lee can mastermind by 24 and fight 12, be back karate blindfolded, 7 times faster than anyone can think critically in their conscious mind. Because they use a 5 sense world with body face expression and their 2 eyes as their windows to their soul. Law and order documents, chaos documents. Every courtroom under the UN finds 84% of people guilty of body face expression. They can't feel the truth. So they use court jargon with the prosecutor talking like this with a complicated language no one understands. But it looks like he knows what he's talking about with negative feels, right? And on a mission to destroy people. You can see it. He's on a mission to destroy someone with circumstantial evidence that doesn't exist because there's no evidence in 84% of cases. And then people think he knows what he's talking about, but they can't even understand what he's saying. And then the person accused, he's in shock because he can't understand what's being said. And then the jury member finds him guilty on body face expression without any care factor, without any feelings, without any evidence. 84% of people found guilty on body face expression by jury members. And that's a normal civilization. That's you. That represents every one of you. Engineered the same way. Okay? So you all find people guilty on body face expression. And that's how you judge mentally and psychologically in 380 different programs through our whole government systems. So your body cells can corrupt collusion during the daytime and can appear at nighttime. And your molecules fall apart by the time you're 12 as you become a homotech transhuman in transhuman stage. Right? And you live in denial. You're just robots and actors. That's all you are. From generation to generation as you normalize what was your moral yesterday non-stop, right? And keep twisting the paper tooth to suit yourself in your little comfort zone. Look at your relationships now. You've got no codependent relationship anywhere. You conquered, debate, and divide with your own families and friends. There's no soulmates. There's no soul power, no supernatural power whatsoever. Just all talk with all your sophisticated knowledge and your sophisticated grammar to make a name for yourself like an actor, like a Hollywood spinner and American dreamer who has the worst DNA in the world, and 77% of their children are born with parasites and chronic diseases because they're just delusional people living in denial. Declared a speech in 2003 when they told they were crazy in 99. That's when they made the Matrix. Those who think instinctively tune that program. And nobody can. They just all talk. Like Tommy Truth. People merely resonate with Tommy Truth, and he cannot use mental telepathy, ESP, remote viewing, telekinesis, the levitation, spoon bending, clock winding, folding space and time with deja vu to predict the future. He cannot use 100% of his brain. He cannot use any spirituality. He hasn't crossed over, nothing. Yet mental species in America merely resonate with idiots like this, and all their self-proclaimed prophets and nutcases that are nothing more than actors and delusional people, controlled by stress, fear, and anxiety, confusion, frustration, delusion, and paranoia, because their body cells are in corruption, coercion, delusion at the daytime. So they're controlled by it. No matter what comes out of their mouth, their body cells are in corruption, coercion, collusion during the daytime, so it doesn't matter what comes out of their mouth. They can only use 10% of their brain. They're artificial human beings. And everybody mentally resonates with artificial humans. They mentally resonate with their consciousness as artificial human beings. They can't feel the truth with codependent power. They got none. They got none. No codependent relationships. They only got faith in 2 or 3 people in their life, in their real life. Go home with any one of these species on a screen and have a look at their real life at home and find out about the skeleton in the closed closet. You'll find out the truth about people in 5 weeks that you don't know about your best friends in 10 years when you live with them. You look at the disgusting people on TV today and all the real TV. Look how ridiculous people really are. There's nothing human about humanity on TV anywhere in the world, on real TV. They're all dysfunctional people, catfish, cheats and liars worldwide, mental disorders and defects going through the roof, and just want to make a name for themselves, and the only thing they care about is themselves. That's why it's declared by 45,000 teachers that every book-smart education for pills, for ADHD, psychosis, schizophrenia, and bipolar is only an opinion. They're all wrong. We've proven that with placebo medication. Your placebo effect is 10 times more powerful than reality. You don't need science. You don't need medication. You don't need to consume the shit you do. You don't need to follow the system. The system's anti-clockwise. It's the Antichrist. Everything about it's anti-clockwise, the Antichrist. And now everybody follows the Antichrist and gives consent on a daily basis and don't believe in it at the same time because they live in denial. They're not qualified to judge at all. They're controlled by an outside influence. They're an actor. They act for someone else. They don't control their own vessel. They're not the mastermind. They cannot mastermind their own mind. And if they cannot mastermind their own mind using 100% of their brain, then who masters their mind when they can't? It's that obvious, it's not funny. It's that simple. It's right in front of your face. If you cannot use 100% of your brain, then you're brainwashed. You can only use IQ. And a person with 112 or 212 IQ can only use 16% of his brain. That's nothing compared to me. He's an idiot. He's a godless, immoral creature because it's got no aura and it's got no spirituality. Sold out for its grammar and for its self-centered personality in mentality. To think he's special with his own opinion and persist with his own opinion. Persist with a voice in the mind that tells them to do that. Ultimately designed for human extinction, declared worldwide by Jeremy Givers, the top bowlers in the whole world, and 16,000 top scholars and 45,000 teachers. We're listening to the wrong voice of mine on anti-clockwise. 98.7% is anti-clockwise in their DNA and their aura, and DNA doesn't lie. They do. They depend on it, and they don't care anymore. As they lost all their abilities to feel the truth, they don't even care. They have no more feelings. They come to their own conclusion with reasoning, and that's the Asian affairs, 5 senses. In negative fears, no moral, no guilt, no shame, no care. In real life, no moral, no guilt, no shame in real life. Take responsibility for nothing and riddle with parasites, with guilt factors and shame, and carry the personalities of that forefather's footsteps with many voices in their mind, ultimately designed for extinction because they're just personalities. They're just personalities, and they are just a personality. The last human being born on Earth that can use a genetic process with genetic memory was born in 1960, and everyone still is in denial about it. In Generation X, Z, and Alpha, that artificial human beings in post-human stage, in the zombie apocalypse with a body-snatching virus called Vine syndrome, worldwide where they lost all their magnetic pulse, with demons in their mind. They're all going to die from stress-related diseases because they're all dying prematurely, getting younger non-stop. So that's spreading like a virus affecting animals all over the earth and birds falling out the sky. And animals going in circles and vertigo, right? Concussion, right? Insomnia. Can't sleep at night. Dizzy spells. Mental disorders and defects. Cancer going through the roof with parasites. Parasites and everything. 9 delusional parasitosis. And they're riddled with it in 98% with voltage volatility anti-clockwise in their cells. I've got all the information about them with the top doctors in the world in the cells. Their body's subject to corruption, erosion, illusion because it's anti-clockwise with bale, rel, voltage, unreliability. They got no aura, they got no feelings, they got no love, no care, no loyalty, honor, respect, no moral, no empathy, no remorse. Only 3.5 hours a night when they sleep. That's the only time their spirituality, when they're in their dream, in dream time. We live in dream time all the time. We don't live in our vessel. We don't live in our human experience. You do. You live in a personality with mentality, like an actor. You act for someone else and do what you're told. You don't even believe in it. You're a species in denial. Your mind is a mathematical beautiful work things out with IQ based on 98% memory. It's a memory box, and that's all you go by. You go by what you select in your memory with unnatural selection. With voice of mind that tells you to do that. And that's why you're artificial. It's only a personality. They'll tell you what you're going to believe in, and you select that yourself in your own comfort zone. You'd rather sit in the comfort zone on a couch in front of a screen all day and then pretend you're human when there's people out there in real life that can levitate at one stone and bring people back to life, that's got divine power to command nature. People that help one another. People that's got real love and spread it like a virus amongst everybody else. And they've got more faith in those people than anyone else. They create a reputation by word of mouth, not a marketing strategy to make a name for themselves with synthetic products and synthetic tools, right? And synthetic friends and wannabe Hollywood characters. Everybody wants to be a Hollywood character on the screen all day, don't they? That's all they want to be. Sit on the screen all day. Couch potatoes, artificial human beings, speak shit all day with grammar, but they got no divinity and no divine power at all. They're just liars, okay, and judgmental, competitive creatures, and I haven't got time for these species, okay? I'm here to save humanity's souls, their spirituality, not their mentality and their personality, because that's the destructive part, when they're possessed by a demon in the mind, by the monster bed, and they're deliberately put in the school to be possessed like their parents are, in a massive global delusional state, with artificial intelligence, by the Antichrist, anti-clockwise in their DNA, and they live in denial. Very few people are going to wake up from amnesia and the reincarnation trap. I can promise you that. Only people that wants to wake up, but their mind controls them that much that 95% has been declared beyond the point of return. The great delusional state warned in the Bible is on DNA studies done in the big mental research, and no one believes in the Bible or the DNA studies or mental health research. They only believe in themselves. They don't believe the Bible. They don't believe DNA study done. They don't believe the evidence we bring here. They live in denial, and they haven't got a care factor in real life. They're delusional people worldwide, living in their mind personality with mental disorders and defects going through the roof, and their body starts corruption illusion during the daytime. And every single Western, not one of them can master their mind with clockwise DNA. Not one. Not fucking one in America. They're all got parasites. They all got defective genes and mental disorders going through the roof in all their kids. And they lie as they live on toxic poisons and all the garbage they consume and don't even know how to use natural selection. Don't even have faith in their own biological genes to use their own natural organic motor skills because they can't use them. It's in amnesia. And they live in denial about it. A species in brain-locked denial without a care factor. Just do what they're told. Dormant, stupid, and not alive. Ice cold people worldwide without an aura. An aura that can levitate at one such stone. People question me, can I levitate? I brought someone back to life 3 times with peer reports and CCTV. I do more than levitation. I bring that heart back to life. I do more than levitation. I bring someone back to life. I do more than levitation. I bring them back to life. How do you think it feels since you've been doing that since 1992? For more than, 33 years? That's the lifespan of Christ. I left my mark on earth with more evidence with me than Christ himself. I'm the son of Christ, son of David, son of Abraham, and it's the obvious. 5 biblical signs land on my date of birth, 27, Holy Spirit, divine light, September. The scales, justice. You're declared post-human stage of my birthday, 99. Last human being born on earth is me, 1960. Metal Rat, king of all kings. You're told the end times of New York climate clock, 7-year countdown, 7-year lay. 27 September, 227, New York climate clock. Most powerful number placed in the center of society, in the middle of New York Square. New York climate clock. Go look at a 2-minute video. 2,000 years when Christ was baptized by John. 27 September, 27. 7-year lay. In the middle of 7, Daniel 9:27. In the middle of 7, Jacob's trouble. That was last year, 224. You know why? Because it's September 27. And the same day, you're told there'll be a supernova. Jacob's star went in supernova, and 144,000 orbs of lights came from heaven to earth, stars within the stars in the Bible, and put the world in checkmate. We have a relationship, you don't. The wedding, the bride, the two witnesses. It will start with a man woman, it'll finish with a man woman. The two candlesticks, the two olive trees. The two witnesses will be mainstream media worldwide. It says that the world will see the two witnesses. They both came from heaven to earth without a father. They both went through the 212 phenomenon and both flatlined in a procession. Both went through a 3.5-year transformation. Gone through that already. Already done. You will see the witness come, and he will come for the bride and the wedding. That'll be Christ. You won't know who he is. You won't know who the last Christ is, but you'll know by the tools and the signs, with the moons and the stars. You'll see 2 moons in the middle of 7. 1st of October last year, 2 moons in the middle of 7. 3 powerful prophecies in a row, 4 days apart. 2 lands on September 27, my birthday. Daniel 9:27, the middle of 7, Jacob's trouble. Jacob's star supernova, middle of 7, on the same day. 27 July 22, the 2 witnesses, the bride and the wedding, was on mainstream media worldwide when they viewed Kim Denmark, Tour de France winner. 1 minute before he walks out, the 2 witnesses walk out with an envelope and wave to you and say, thank you for coming to my wedding 4 times. And you think it's a joke because you're mentally insane and you've got no faith. You were told, I'll move the world's biggest army of 250 million. I'll move the Extinction Rebellion since 1990 to 335 million and shut every capital city down in 2019. Okay, time travel 227 represents 2,000 years when Christ was baptized by John to the end date on the new climate clock of this 7-year lay. 220, 227, 27 September on the new climate clock. Right, put up by the same ballers who wrote the book Freedom, Jeremy Griffiths, who wrote the book Freedom of Human Conditioning that's going to save humanity, and they found the last human being born on earth that can do everything Christ can and more. In DNA studies done. DNA, the book of life. The book of life is DNA with genetic process and genetic memory. Hailed by 16,000 top scholars in the world, and he declared posthumous stage on my birthday. The IPP science reports, and you didn't read the documents about being stripped from your 6th sense for the 6th time in the 6th mass extinction, and you went in denial 2003, like your governments did, like all your systems did. You went in denial as well, just like they were, right? But they warned you, and they keep getting arrested for telling you the truth. And they move the world transformation movement with natural selection and natural order, held by 16,000 top scholars in the world, the Holy Grail of life, with we're not breathing, the Holy Breath of life. Okay, but the rest of the world's following the artificial intelligence, right, with unnatural selection every day, with radio waves and artificial intelligence and every mutation. They mutate non-stop, as declared by FDA. So they follow Harari and the governments with unnatural selection on a daily basis and replace it with intelligent design on a daily basis, and give consent to nefarious every day to artificial intelligence, to an alien intelligence, to the Antichrist, anti-clockwise, atheism. And that's who they are, because that's the footsteps they follow of their forefathers' footsteps in the 23rd seed, the seed of the dragon, which are warned about in the Bible, following the seed of the dragon. And that's the 23rd chromosome with reptilian mentality they live in their personality, with their grammar, with IQ behavior, as if they're something special and great God's given gift to mankind, like every atheist is a God's given gift to mankind. That's Westerners, that's Americans, self-image, self-pride, and the 7 deadly sins riddled with parasites and their self-centered ego. The most egotistical people in the world. There's nothing humble about these species. You look at a 450-year-old Aboriginal 10 feet tall with an aura that's 100 times more powerful than yours, and they grow 10 times more fruit with 10 times more nutritional value because they bear the right fruit, and when you stand next to them, you feel the love pouring all over you because they have a relationship with the universal language, and you certainly don't. You can't compare with these species because your forefathers took away your universal language, so you couldn't make it to any more than 120 years. They put you in confusion, frustration, delusion, and paranoia with nations and cults and religious political cults and New Age cults, and divided you, and you can't even mentally overset with other species because you're mental. And 99% of you fucking idiots, your whole house is filled up with what? Sentimental value. Everything is sentimental to you. All your materialistic things, you're sentimental. Look at all this sentimental crap you hang on to that makes you mental. You think an Aboriginal's got sentimental value? No, they don't. They only have spirituality value. They have real love. They live by the vineyard equally, like Christ said, for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. While you live by your systems, they live by their natural ganomascus with Mother Nature and has a relationship. They can levitate on one stone. Trees bend down to talk to them. They grow 10 times more fruit with 10 times more trees value. Graham Hancock even reported this, right, on Joe Rogan about the Mayan jungles. And the Mayan jungles and the outback of Australia is the only two locations left in the world that has the most powerful fauna on Earth, while yours is collapsing between 38 and 90% and shows you have a bit of bacteria and your immune system, and you lie to yourself. Because you're riddled with parasites, a hostile entity in your mind that's possessing you in a personality and tells you whatever you want to believe in your own truth, right? And come to your own conclusion with reasoning, which is nefarious, because it's only 5 senses that you live in your consciousness, a mental bent, a mental process, an illusion, imagination, and your imagination runs wild, because you haven't got deja vu to predict the future and prevent what's going to happen. You're a liar. You're a species of denial. Imagine how I feel being here and gone through this for 33 years of my life and rejected by my parents since the day I was born, by Western civilization, who are not humble people and do not have their natural process and has no supernatural power and cannot use 100% of their brain. They can only 7 to 15% at the most. And they've got no divine intervention, no divine power. And they throw stones at me every day. Imagine how God feels when I'm deciding this with the most powerful biblical prophecies on my date of birth, with the most powerful signs. And I moved 335 million in Extinction Rebellion to try and stop the 6th mass extinction, slipping the 6th sense for the 6th time. Book Revelation 27, the Holy Spirit, divine light. And you didn't care when we shut the covers down. So you were shown Time Traveler 227 standing at New York Climate Club, Times Square, alone. And every capital city we shut down, he's standing there alone. Because I'm the only one of a kind. I'm alone. And you see this ambition and dreams, right, and done on social media platform in such a way the scholars could not work this one out. So they took it down because they couldn't work it out. And I told you, with polar space and time, with international events, with the most powerful confirmation on Earth by border security, in the AI world, and the all-seeing eye, the most powerful confirmation on Earth, how I follow space and time with cameras, and using the outside influence on your mentality with visions and dreams, and follow space and time with AI. More power than anybody else in the world. When I can follow space and time on CCTV, and they can't get me through international airports, what are you thinking? You jealous, spiteful, weak little coward. You're an antichrist, anti-clockwise, and that's how it is. You have to go through the rebirth. You have to cross over. You have to resurrect back in your primal state, back in your celestial primal being. Not in your mentality, in your personality, trapped with amnesia, and you do not know what to do in your cave. You suffer mental disorders, defects going through the roof. You suffer all the time, and you live in denial in a comfort zone. With stress, fear, and anxiety, confusion, frustration, delusion, and paranoia. You haven't got a clue what you're doing. You have 100 times more power. You have 10 times more love. You have 10 times more everything. 10 times more clarification. A universal language. A universal power. You do not have. You do not possess. We teach the resurrection and crossing over with We're Not Breathing, right? And the book Freedom by Jeremy Goose, The Holy Grail of Life and the Holy Breath of Life, held by 16,000 top scholars on the same page, in the biggest merge in human history, with natural selection and natural order. And if you don't go back to your primal state, you will not have a divine intervention, and you will not be chosen, and you will not be saved. Are you listening to what I'm saying to you? You will not go into a new timeline with 7-fold wisdom knowledge to create heaven and earth unless you're saved. You have to go through resurrection in a 40-day test, in a 40-day fast. I teach every day. And then you get selected. You go through a divine intervention when you go back and you're innocent, but not before. You have to release your personality and your mentality and go through this. Back in your innocence, back in your childhood, back in your innocence, back in your spirituality, back into your primordial state. If you don't, you will not be saved. This is the only way people get saved, to get reborn. Go across a rebirth, resurrect. It's a crossover. It's not in your mind. It's not a comfort zone. It's very uncomfortable. But believe me, it's a liberation. The most powerful liberation and freedom you'll ever feel in your life. But you'll never deceive ever again. You will never suffer ever again in your life. You'll never suffer any confusion, frustration, delusion, or paranoia, right? ADHD, psychosis, schizophrenia, bipolar, Okay, you'll never suffer stress, fear, and anxiety ever again. Never. You don't know what you're missing out on because you're mentally insane and live in denial. And because you live in so much denial into yourself, you'll never know. Take the red pill and you can't go back because you wake up from amnesia and you stick your head through the light in the tunnel. Plato describes in 15 books. They studied for 45 years in my DNA, and my DNA is a book of life. I can do everything Christ can and more, and I teach people how to do what Christ can and more for a transformation in a 40-day fast and a 3.5-year transformation that only Christ knew. He was the only one that knew. He did it in 40 days and 3.5 year. Ronnie went through a transformation, and he taught the disciples to do the same thing, and they could do what he can and more as well. He taught them in 3.5 years in a 40-day fast and 3.5 years of transformation, and then they could do what he can and more. And you can't, and you're a liar, and your pastors and your preachers and your teacher and New Age are all liars. There isn't one of these species that's ever told you to follow the right footsteps where you can do what Christ can and more. And since I'm the one that can, I'm the one that can teach it as well. Obviously, the most authentic DNA in the world that can do what Christ can and more. And then the whole world throws stones at me every day. Every pastor, every preacher, and every teacher, and every single Christian. Because they don't care. They have no feelings, and they have no faith. And you have to know that. They're all a species in denial in a massive global delusional state and give consent to the bushman and control them so they'll never know. And that's their problem because that's their judgment. And that brings them to the sixth mass extinction, stripping the sixth sense for the sixth time because they have no spirituality. They sold out to the demons in their mind. No matter what they say, that's the truth they can't handle.